Hey, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I hope this video finds you well. It's the weekend. It's Saturday, April 11th, something I think it is. Whatever, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Really doesn't matter at this point. So I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are going to have a good Easter weekend with some family. I know you guys are together all the time, but maybe drive around, say hi to some friends, some family, stuff like that. Give a little virtual hello. I was really, I guess, how do I say this? Surprised. I put a Facebook post on there. I needed some books, and I have well over a dozen books, maybe close to 20. And I will be getting some more this afternoon, this afternoon. And just amazing, the power of social media, if it's done right. And so that's very encouraging to me that a lot of people have books. And I love to read, especially when I have time. And for me to read digitally, it's very hard to do. I tried it. I downloaded a couple of apps, and for me to sit there and read on my phone is just not the same as an actual hardcover book, hard copy book. So like I said, it was awesome to see the response, and I've already started on a book. I'm a few chapters into one already. I'm already excited. I already got the next couple ones picked out already. So yeah, I'm really excited. I encourage you to take some time to read. I know that's always been an excuse for our lives. We're so busy. We don't have time to do this, time to do that. My encouragement to you is to actually get out and learn some new stuff, or get back into a hobby that you always want to do, whether it's learning to cook, making new things, teaching yourself a new skill. I was really encouraged yesterday by a conversation I had with a parent, and she said that they created a new game and he went out and taught himself something. And I said, that's awesome. That's education you can't receive in a classroom. Yes, I'd love to be back in the classroom with you guys, but there's a lot of lessons out there in life that cannot be learned in the four walls of a classroom. So very encouraged by that yesterday. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and start with Bud Not Buddy. It is now chapter 12, and we're going to break chapter 12 into two parts. So he just got done having breakfast with sausages and everything like that with Mr. Lefty Lewis and his Mrs. Sleet and the two kids, and he never had sausage before, and it's one of the best things he's ever had. So let's see what happens now. After breakfast, me and Mr. Lewis said goodbye to the Sleets and got back into the car. I leaned over the front seat to put my suitcase in the back. Mr. Lewis, someone stole all the blood last night. He said, I'll say one thing for you, Bud. When you go to sleep, you go way, way to sleep. You don't remember anything about last night after we got to Flint? I said, I don't think so, sir. After you so rudely fell asleep on me, we dropped the blood off at Hurley Hospital. Then I gassed up. Then I got in touch with your daddy to let him know you were all right. Uh-oh. What did he say, sir? I didn't call him. I sent a telegram to the log cabin. He still owns that club, doesn't he? Yes, sir. Good. Lefty Lewis leaned over and reached in the glove box of the car. He pulled out a flimsy piece of yellow paper and handed it to me. It's not the coronavirus, promise you. Across the top of the paper, it said in big letters, Western Union. Underneath that, it said, HEC stop. Bud, OK in Flint, stop. At 4309 North Street, stop. Return, 8 p.m. Wednesday, stop. Lefty, stop. Man, I'll bet Herman E. Calloway was just as confused by this message as I was. I said, what does that mean, sir? Lefty Lewis said, when you send a telegram, the more letters you use, the more money you have to pay. So you try to keep your messages as short as you can. Here, let me see it. I handed him the paper. He said, okay, HEC, that stands for your dad, Herman E. C. Calloway. But OK in Flint, that lets him know how far you got and that you're safe. And you did get pretty far, Bud. Maybe he won't be too hard on you when he sees how resourceful you were at running away. I know I'd have been darn proud of one of my kids if they'd gotten that far, but I used to offer them money to run, and they'd never take it. At 4309 North Street, that's my daughter's address, and return 8 p.m. Wednesday. Lets him know I'm bringing you home by 8 tonight. Well, I said, what are all those stops, sir? He said, that's the telegram's office way of saying period. It just means that the sentence is over. Lefty Lewis spent most of the day doing errands all around Flint. He made me promise to wait in the car for him. I was good and happy when he said, that's it, Bud, time to head home. We drove past that sign that said welcome to Flint on one side when he looked up and said, uh-oh. Suddenly, a siren went off, sounding like it was in the back seat of the car. I raised my head up to look over the seat out the back window. Uh-oh, it was right. There was a Flint police car right behind us with the red light on top of his roof flashing on and off, and with the siren blasting. They'd found me. Shucks, this doggone FBI was just as good as the movie said it was. They were just like those Royal Canadian Mounted Police that always got their man. I crouched down as low as I could. Lefty Lewis pulled the car over the side of the road and said, real calm and real slow, "Bud, it's very important that you listen very carefully to what I'm going to tell you and that you do exactly as I say." He kept his eyes stuck on the rearview mirror. By the way he was acting, I was starting to think that maybe Lefty Lewis was on the lam too. Hey, wait a minute. How come this man didn't have a real name? Who ever heard of someone's mama naming him Lefty? That name had alias writ all over it. Lefty sounds like a real good name for a stick-up man. It seemed like it would be real easy for Machine Gun Kelly to point at some poor slob and say, "That's the guy who ratted me out, Lefty. Finish him off." And what he just said about listening carefully and doing exactly what he said was number 8 of Bud Caldwell's rules and things to have a funner life and make a better liar out of yourself. Rules and things number 8. Whenever an adult tells you to listen carefully and talks to you in a real calm voice, do not listen. Run as fast as you can, because something real terrible is just around the corner, especially if the cops are chasing you. I stared at Lefty Lewis, keeping my fingers crossed that the next thing he said wouldn't be, "You'll never take us alive, copper." Instead, he said, "Bud, are you listening? Bud?" I had to play along until I got a chance to make a break. I said, "Yes, sir." "Attaboy. First, close your mouth." "Good. Now I want you to take that box that is next to me and quickly put it all the way underneath your seat." I picked up a box that was about the size of a big, thick book and slid it under my seat. Lefty Lewis said, "Good boy. Now stay put and don't say anything." He winked at me and said, "Don't worry. It's all right." He opened his door and walked back to the police car. I tried to decide what to do. If I made a break for it, I was sure the coppers would plug me, but maybe Lefty Lewis would wrestle the gun away before they got a good shot off. Or maybe, just maybe, Lefty Lewis would take a bullet for me. Okay, I told myself, I'm gonna count to 10, then I'm gonna reach into the back seat, snatch my suitcase, and book out for those buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, I'm gonna count to 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, this time I'm really gonna grab that doggone. The cop and Lefty Lewis were standing at the door. The cop said, "I want to take a look in the trunk." Him and Mr. Lewis went around to the back and the trunk opened, and I heard someone rumbling around in it. I heard a loud bang and nearly jumped out of my seat. Whew! It was only Mr. Lewis closing the trunk. They walked back to the driver's seat. The policeman looked in the back seat and said, "What's in the suitcase?" Mr. Lewis said, "Those are Bud's things. He was visiting here in Flint, and I'm taking him back to Grand Rapids." The policeman looked at me and said, "Oh, your grandson, huh? You two look just alike." Lefty Lewis said, "Why, thank you, officer. I always thought the boy was unusually handsome." The cop didn't have a good sense of humor. He said, "All right, you're free to go. We can't be too careful. I don't know if you've heard, but we're having a lot of trouble in the factories here. We've been stopping all cars we don't recognize. There have been reports that more of those stinking labor organizers might be sneaking up here from Detroit." Mr. Lewis said, "You don't say." The cop said, "Drive carefully." And he touched the brim of his cop hat the way a cowboy in the moving pictures does. Lefty Lewis got in the car, started it, and we pulled back out on the highway. He made a scary face at me and said, "Bud, this has been a really lucky couple days for you. First, I saved you from being eaten by some vampires in Owasso. Then you seem to have survived my daughter's pancakes. And finally, that police officer saves you from the fearsome and loathsome labor organizers of Detroit. You are truly blessed." Lefty Lewis was back to acting normal, but I kept wondering what was in the box he didn't want the cop to see. I said, "What's a labor organizer, sir?" Mr. Lewis said, "In Flint, they are people who are trying to get unions in the automobile factories." Before I had a chance to get my next question, and Lefty Lewis said, "I'm going to save my breath for you, bud. I'll bet the next thing out of your mouth was going to be, what's a union, right?" "Yes, sir. A union is like a family. It's when a group of workers get together and try to make things better for themselves and their children." "That's all, sir?" "That's all." "Then why are the cops after them?" "Oh, that's a very good question. Look in that box you put under your seat." I pulled the box out and put it in my lap and looked over at Lefty Lewis. He looked back at me and checked the rear view mirror. Go ahead. I stopped for a second. Maybe there was a loaded and cocked pistol hiding in the box. Maybe Lefty Lewis would have shot it out with the cop if he tried to take us to jail. I started raising the top off the box, and just as I was about to get it open, Lefty Lewis moved a lot faster than you'd think somebody's granddad could, and slapped his hand on top of it, closing it back tight. Uh-oh. Maybe this was loot from a bank that him and Al Capone had locked over. Maybe Lefty Lewis would have to rub me out if I saw what was inside. Maybe if I looked, I'd know too much. He said, before you look, bud, you've got to understand that what's in there is very dangerous. I said, well, sir, I really don't think I need to see it, sir. I think I'll just look out the window until we get to Grand Rapids, or maybe, I gave a fake big yawn. Maybe I'll take a nap. He laughed and said, you're a lot smarter than you look, bud. You would know it if it would have been curtains for us, if that copper would have seen what's in there. He tapped the top of the box. All I could say was, yes, sir. He said, go ahead and open it up, bud. You have to promise. No, you have to swear that you won't breathe a word about what you see to anyone. Mr. Lewis, sir, I'd really rather take a nap. Well, first open the box. I took in a big gulp of air and started to raise the top of the box again. Lefty Lewis yelled, Bud? I jumped so high I nearly banged my head on the roof of the car. I yelled back, yes, sir. I didn't hear you swear to keep your lips locked. Oh, shucks, Mr. Lewis, I swear, but I'd feel a lot better if I could take a doggone nap. I snatched the top off the box and got ready to be scared to death. And it was, we'll find out the next time we read, okay? All right, so anyways, I'm wearing a Packers hat today, and I think it's, and there's Percy. Hi.
Hello.
Yep, so this is what we have to deal with. Okay, let's finish the video. Okay, so anyways, wearing a Packers hat today. I want you to go ahead and pick two players on the Green Bay Packers. I think you know who you are. Actually, I want you to tell me who their three famous quarterbacks are. Okay? Just write me a couple sentences about each one. So we're Green Bay Packers organization. We, the state of Wisconsin, killers, all killer dogs. Cujo 1, Cujo 2. So anyways, the killer, we're fortunate enough to have three excellent quarterbacks that are probably that will be first ballot Hall of Famers. I know we'll have a third coming up. But I want you to tell me a little bit about each one, their hometowns, how long they're playing for the Packers, how long they played for the Packers, or if they're still playing for the Packers, how long have they been playing for the Packers? Tell me their numbers, what jersey numbers they wear, and something they might have done that was like tremendous for their career. So anyways, I'll be uploading this later. I will probably send this over to you on Monday, maybe even sooner than that, depending on upload speeds at home. Hope you guys are doing good. I miss you guys, and I love you. Bye.